Years ago, Troy and I were driving home from Eastern Oregon from a location that was so remote that there was no reception at all. And we were driving over these mounds in the earth. And on the top of one of those mounds, I was surprised when my cell phone rang. And in this skipping rock fashion, a message came through. A horse has been discovered in the wilderness. He's badly wounded. Will you take him? Yes, home in 5 hours. And we drove like we were on fire. Got home, dropped our bags, rushed to the equine surgery center and to this avalanche of information. And what I learned was that a small 6-ish-year-old bay Arabian gelding had been located in the wilderness as he had stumbled into an elk hunter's camp. And these men called the U.S. Forest Service at night and said, "Oh my goodness, this horse has come into our camp and he's so badly wounded. You need to send somebody up here and euthanize him." An individual went in, hiking up a mountainside, and they came in and they evaluated this horse, and they said, "This horse is still fighting for his life. Why would I take it from him? I choose to fight with him." And they led this horse 3 miles down a mountainside under a full moon into a waiting trailer and drove all night to get him to an equine surgery center. And the first thing that they noticed is this horse was not wild. He was wearing a halter and dragging a lead rope, and he had a vet wrap bandage on his left front leg that had grown into the leg. Someone had applied it incorrectly, and as they cut the bandage off, everything underneath it came off. It was a horrible wound, and you could see all the tendons in the back of his leg. And as they were cleaning his leg, they started noticing this incredible blood trail down his leg and all this biomatter caked all over. This horse has bled a lot. And so they ran a blood test. And that's when the doctor, who's a dear friend of mine, came out, and it's a teaching hospital, and he said, "Students, gather around. Look at this report. You will never see this again in your career." Why? Because this is impossible. This horse has bled out half of his blood volume, gallons of blood. Not only should this horse not be standing, he shouldn't be alive. And that led to the next question, from where? And so as they followed this blood trail up, it continued up to the horse's head, and his left eye was hanging completely out of socket and destroyed. And there was an ominous depression 3 inches behind his left eye. So they took x-rays, and they led me into their dark room, and I watched as this image of pure evil just rose up out of the darkness. Someone had tried to euthanize this horse by shooting him through the left eye. That destroyed his eye, but it did not kill him. Then they reloaded with a hollow point. Hollow points create maximum damage. And they fired again 3 inches behind the left eye, and that shot broke the flange of his jaw, scattered into dozens of inoperable fragments, and that knocked him down. The perpetrator thought, mission accomplished, and abandoned a horse in the wilderness to die, a horse that they were charged to take care of. And they left, and no one knows how long he was down. All that is known is that at some point, this precious little horse woke up and summoned all the strength and courage that he had, and he rolled up to his feet, and he put one foot in front of the other for days, weeks, until he finally walked out of the wilderness into this hunter's camp. What I knew about this horse is that he endured all these things that any one of them should have killed him. He has a systemic infection. He has a horrific leg wound. He's been shot in the head twice. He suffered lethal blood loss. His jaw's broken. He can't eat. And he's dragging a lead rope. Anyone who owns a horse knows you can't put a horse in the front yard on the lawn for 3 minutes before they're tied to their front leg. For weeks, any one of those things should have taken his life. And this precious little soul just said, I choose to live, and just take the next step and the next step until he walked through his wilderness. And as I walked in to meet this precious little soul, he was standing in a concrete block intensive care ward. Everything's painted white. He has IVs in both sides of his neck, and his head is heavily wrapped, trying to support a destroyed eye, that he's too weak, they can't remove it. He has a long recovery, and he just has one little eye blinking out. And this horse, who should hate every human being, because every human being to this point has betrayed him, and instead of being angry or fearful or ambivalent, instead, he gave me the only gift that he had, and that was an equine greeting, and he reached out to smell my extended hand, and he was so weak that in the doing of that, he lost his balance and he started to fall. And just out of a reaction, I tried to scoop up his head and help him rebalance, and we just both went down in a big old heap. And he was so embarrassed and so sad that he knocked me down, and there was care for me. This horse is dying, and there's care for me. And in that moment, I determined, I don't know what your life has been until this point. All that's over, because from this day forward, you are seen, you are loved, you have a home, and you have a family that is waiting for you. You belong. And so every day I would come and see him, and I wanted him to know that he had a family that was waiting for him, and I would bring all these truckloads of little kids, and in no time at all, he started to understand the sound of my truck engine, and I would drive in, turn the truck off, and step out, and I could hear him inside the hospital starting to call, "Hey, lady that loves me, I'm down here." And I would take all these kids and tell them, what you're about to see is really, really hard. This horse is badly, badly wounded, and here's your charge. I want you to bring him all the hope and the encouragement and the love that you've got, and just come and put your hands on him and let him know everything's gonna be all right. Here's what I don't want you to do, is come in and say, "Oh no, oh no." Now he has to cheer you up, and he doesn't have the strength for that. If you need to step outside and shed some tears, that's okay. Go ahead and move down the hall and let the emotion out. This is rough, it's real. And then let your heart be filled back up with love and bring him that. And these kids were like warriors. They were so much better at this than the adults. And just coming in and lavishing this horse, and in no time, his stall door was papered with all these get well cards, and "We love you, we miss you, and we want you to come home." And on one particular day, there was a group of kids, and there was one 8-year-old boy, and I pulled him aside and I said, "Hey buddy, I just want you to know that what you're about to see is rough. This horse is badly, badly wounded, and you're gonna see some really, really awful scars." And an 8-year-old told me, I'm not afraid of the scars. The scars make him kind of like men and women that go away to war, and they come back and they're different. And what makes him a hero is not what they did. What makes them a hero is the fact that they came back. They came home. And that's what makes him a hero, is that they fought to come home. An 8-year-old kid taught me that. And that was the moment that this horse was named Hero, in honor of the men and women who have fought to earn the freedom that I enjoy, and in honor of a courageous heart of a little horse that just refused to give up. Day after week after month, we would go and just surround him. And although his recovery was over a year in the making, he gained enough strength to be able to come home. And so this glass horse that just needs so much love and so much care, and we very carefully loaded him into the trailer. He's still heavily bandaged, his head and his leg, and he's gaining weight. He's healing from a broken jawbone. I mean, so many things, so many hardships. And I had invited some of the kids and their families to come to the ranch and welcome this once abandoned horse into his forever home. And as I was driving the truck, came around the last turn, And what I saw just flooded my heart, that lining our driveway were hundreds of children and their families, and they're screaming and waving and laughing and clapping and cheering, "Welcome home, hero, welcome home." And I drove up and I turned the truck around really carefully amidst hundreds of people. And they're yelling and clapping, and kids are holding up signs. "We love you, welcome home, you're here, you finally made it home." And this horse just stood and just took it all in with his one little inquisitive eye. And as I looked at his expression, it was so full of wonder. Our little hero finally came home. And there's so many things that I love about this horse. But what I love most is that he reflects my true hero, and that's Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ came to this earth to make a way to show me how to walk through my wilderness. And God's word says in Psalms 23, though we walk through that valley of the shadow of darkness, what it doesn't say is, though we camp out and live there. We take one step after another, and God is with us, his rod and his staff, his strength and his comfort and his love. The love of Jesus Christ is not the light at the end of our tunnel. He's the light in our tunnel with us every minute of every day. And if we don't think so in our darkest times, it's because we're facing the wrong direction. All we need to do is turn to him and ask him to come, and the light of his love will fill that place where we are. What I learned from a little horse is this: no matter what wilderness you face, every wilderness has this in common. It has a beginning and it has an end. And if you take one step after another, you too will walk right into the glory and the love and the redeeming power of Jesus Christ. God's word says that everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved, and that salvation is as near as our lips and our heart. All we need to do is ask Jesus to forgive us of our sin and come into our heart and reach for the hand of hope that has always been reaching for us, and walk forward with him. And you too will reach the end of your wilderness hand in hand with the hero of all heroes, Jesus Christ. Beloved, I pray that today is that day for you. God bless.